Hello, welcome to Cold Calls, day 4 with Leon Anderson, and today's topic will be more CSS. Leon, how are you doing?
I'm really good, but it's actually day 5. I'm not a time traveler.
Yeah, day 5. Let me correct this. It is correct in the name of the stream, and now it's correct in the live ticket. Day 5. Okay, let's take this again. Hello, everyone. Day 5. Cold Calls, 100 Days of Code with Leon Anderson, day 5. Today's topic is CSS. So, yeah, how are you doing and what did you do today?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, except that I'm pretty tired, but I I basically worked through more of the CSS lessons in the course by Cold Steel. Learned a bit more about specificity. Learned pretty much what we learned together in the inspector, that there can be multiple style sheets and that they cascade in order, or actually in opposite order, basically, and how everything is displayed in the inspector. That came in the course after we already discussed it. Like stuff like more details on the inline elements and block elements, and then inline block elements. I built some boxes. I transformed some boxes. I learned something about different units, about the absolute units and relative units. I'm really looking forward to learn more about responsive design, where I guess it's more of the relative units used. M's and rems, how they can be used for different applications. So the M's, they are relative to their parent, and this way you can make them relative to like the font of your button, and this way the button shape always stays the same when you scale the font size of the button. But sometimes it's not helpful to have the M's, because they have they always they are always relative to the parent before, and when you have multiple M's relative to each other, then they get smaller or bigger depending on in which direction you go, from level to level, basically. So for this, you have to use rems instead for situations like this, which are M's that are rooted in one root, or relative to one root M, which is in the like HTML bracket in your exclamation mark doc type, like the thing that you start any HTML, like the HTML skeleton, maybe one could say it like that. I don't know how it's called, HTML structure, or
I don't know if that has a term.
but you know what I mean, probably, right?
Yeah, I know what you mean. You mean like the top part of the HTML?
Yes, where the head and body is created from.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. And in the HTML thing, where there's language en, I think it's in there. I have the way you put in the root size, or is it in the head? I don't remember exactly, but I think it's in the HTML language en, and you put font size in there, and then it's all fonts are, all M's are all rems are relative to that. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Sounds good. something that also one of those things that later you basically never come across, and if you do, you Google it on the fly. But it's good to know that it's there, and that is the most important part about it.
Yes. Yeah, like for some of the lessons I didn't code along because it's just repetitive, just okay, now this variation, now this variation, now this variation, and it's and I basically waited. I watched through the videos until the next coding exercise. Unfortunately, there weren't that many coding exercises in the CSS part today. But at some points, I was like, okay, I just want to get some more coding repetition, so I coded along a bit again, and yeah, I built a nice looking hover button, hovering button that's glowing in the dark and it's moving upwards, yeah, looks really nice, and I think, oh yeah, I definitely have to look more into position property. There were so many things I could set, and I didn't get like all of the different dynamics there, but I definitely know like directionally what can be done with the position properties. So if I should encounter it in the future, I know where to look. And yeah.
Exactly, yeah, the position property is something that's not easy to grasp, and it takes quite a bit of repetitions in order to really understand well. And I would argue also myself, like, there's still stuff that you need to do, but luckily it's also something that you don't come across too often, and as with a lot of these things, and also I would say 50% of the cases or so, it is abstracted away for you.
Yes, and I think the most important thing for me is the use case of a navigation bar at the top, maybe at the something at the bottom or stuff like that, like maybe like a chatbot in the corner or like placing stuff like that. So just knowing that is a good feeling. Yeah, otherwise I was a bit confused. What's the difference between a parent and an ancestor? Because he
Okay,
used
what confused you there?
like a parent is also an ancestor, but not all ancestors are parents, kind of thing? Or how is it? Because he used both terms without really differentiating them, but I guess they are about how things are nested into each other and how they relate to each other.
Yeah, so basically it's like this, right? So let's say we have a div here, and we close that div, and another div here, and we close that div, and then we have one more div here of closing, right? And we give this the ID of the child, because this is the child, this is the parent, and this here is the ancestor. And so it's perfectly right. But this one right here, oops, can I write the comment? I have this comment right here. So this one is an ancestor, but this one is both a parent and an ancestor. So it basically means that parents are elements that directly contains another element. So it's one level above in the hierarchy. And an ancestor element is any element that is above another element in the DOM hierarchy, not just one level up. So it includes the parent, the grandparent.
Yes,
So
yes.
if you look at this one from the perspective of this diff element, this one is the parent and this is an ancestor. Does that make sense?
How come that the end thing is the child, even though it's basically the same diff?
Do you mean this one? Why is this the child? Or what's the question?
Yeah, well, that's the child. Isn't that the same diff? Just the
No,
closing of the diff?
no, this is the closing of this diff, right?
Yes.
These belong together and these belong together. So this one is this one is self-closing. Right, here's the closing of this one. Also write it like this.
Got it. I never seen a self-closing thing.
Okay, then it'll come. I mean, didn't you not look at images? Image tags. Images are
okay.
always self-closing.
Got it. Yeah, I just worked with one image so far.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Well, yeah, tags can also be self-closing. And yeah, what we look here.
Links or what? Links probably.
If images can be links should ideally not be self-closing, and the reason for that is that it has to do with accessibility. So there are very rare cases where you will have a self-closing link, because most of the time your link tag will, even if you don't want to have text in it, it will still have a span in it, some text in it, like chicken or something. But then this span will be made in a way where it's invisible to sighted people. So okay, let me back up and let me go through this slowly. So basically, there are some tags that are always self-closing, like the link tag. Right? And then there are some tags that are sometimes self-closing. For example, a div. And a use case for a div being self-closing is, for example, when you want to use that div element just as a simple break. You can envision like a paragraph in a text, and you just want to put a break there, or you want to put like a bar, that divides two paragraphs in a text, something visual with no content. That's just gonna look like something based on styling. That is another use case for self-closing text. And then you
So
have stuff like
basically like a box or something.
a box, anything that you just want to draw for some reason. You can look up HTML element or a line, or HR. Yeah, exactly. So another element is an HR element that we got.
Yes.
We save this horizontal rule, right? So this one, sometimes people use an HR element, but sometimes they just take a div and target it by class or by ID or something and style it to look like a line like this. And let me show you something where you would see this in the wild. If you go into login, auth, and share this tab. So for example, where you would see this is in something like this, right? So this line right here and this line right here, or to the right and to the left of this or continue, these are probably divs and not HRs. And maybe this is even one div where using the position stuff that you just learned about today, this one's just moved a little bit higher and has a white background. So it's drawing over this continuous line. And if you would remove this element, let's check this hypothesis. So if I remove this element right here, and I just delete it. Yeah, okay. Now it also made the height. Okay, let me delete those other two too so we can see it. So let's delete this right here. Delete and delete. But you can see it's a completely drawn line, and this one is a div too. So this is another use case for a self-closing element.
In this case, they could have used an HR and then put like a div box on top of it with padding or something, right? Without
Yes,
borders.
but the way that they did it here is right here. So they didn't even use a self-closing diff in the here's the self-closing diff. So they used the self-closing diff here, but then they used position absolute to absolutely position this over the text that said or continue with. It's no longer there because I deleted it in my thing. But if I reload the page, it's there again, right here. So what the main takeaway from this is that it's just a use case for self-closing diffs. And to go to the A question, so all A tags usually need to have href, and there are plugins later when you code that tell you if you have a link that does not go anywhere, because this is bad for people who are relying on screen reader technology because it's going to confuse them a lot. And then usually all links have some kinds of text. But then there are some links that for some reason maybe don't have a text, maybe because they just have an icon or something in it, right? And for sighted users, just through the context, they can understand what the button will do. But for people that are not sighted or that for some reason need assistive technology, they will not understand what this button does. So slowly by relying on visual cues. So what you can do there is you can put in a span, but then it will have something like class SR only, which means screen reader only. This like the class could have any name, right? It could be the name Hans or something, but this is like a very conventional name for a class that would make this span invisible to sighted users. Then someone using assistive technology would hover over this link because this text is still inside of the link. The assistive technology would announce to them the content of this link so that they would then know where it'll take them. Like usually you would not do something like click me. It would maybe this is like an icon of like a chat bubble, right? And it takes you to a chat. So this would maybe say chat. And the sighted users just see the chat bubble, but the people who rely on assistive technology, they would see that it, for them, if they hover over it, it would announce chat. So that is all to say that was just to address your point where you said, hey, can a text, can link text ever be self-closing? And in almost all cases, if you see a self-closing link, it is probably not accessible and you should probably change something about it. But these are cases where you can have a self-closing tag that are completely useful.
Got it.
Good. Sweet.
So in order to have like the alt thing that is used for the screen reader, you need to have a closing. You need to have a not self-closing, or
Not for images. So because images have the alt property, right? And the alt property, even if an image is self-closing, the alt text will still give relevant context to someone using a screen reader. So images
can
can
that
be
be with links
self-closing.
as well?
No, links do not have something like that. There's something
Don't links have
that's called
an alt text?
No, I don't think so. Let's check
Oh.
that out. So we can go on MDN, MDM, share in this tab, and then we can look at the properties of an alt tag, href, href language, theme, referrer policy, rel, target, type. So yeah, they don't have an alt property.
That's weird. Why do I remember alts even though I haven't worked with images? That's weird.
You said you did it once, right?
Yeah, but just today.
Images have alt and
Anyway.
alt property.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Sweet.
I guess it's not that big of a deal. Now I know it. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that you did today?
Oh, that took up quite some time, so wasn't that much left. Oh yeah. So the thing about the parents and ancestors thing is, I wasn't sure if the hierarchy is rooted in the HTML or in the style sheet, in the CSS, but then I figured out that it's rooted in the HTML.
Yes.
At first, I thought it was like the cascading hierarchy, and that was meant with that.
But what is meant, then maybe let's ask that question and see if you understood that. So what is the cascading part about the style sheet in terms of specificity?
The specificity is it's kind of a score that even though like there are different let's just say dimensions that that you can order things in, and they have different priorities over each other. So one is just the order of how they appear after one another within the style sheet. Then there is what's it called? How many of the elements of the HTML elements are referred to, I think. I'm not sure how if I call it if I described it right, but for example,
Yes, correct so far.
okay, and then the next one is to the next one is class, and then the next one, the most important one is ID, and ID trumps everything. You can have like 100 elements, but they're not as strong as one ID.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing. I love how you literally remember everything perfectly. That's great.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah. I mean,
Sweet.
so far I didn't have the chance to apply all of it like in a really like in kind of a project where it's really becoming like a puzzle to solve. So far, it was just easy, isolated examples that we went through in the course. So not sure if I will be able to apply it when there's like multiple layers in a big document, in a big text, interweaving with each other. But yeah, it's good to have to start with isolated things, because otherwise it would be too much at once. So I will see then how good I can apply it.
Yes, and our goal is to hopefully get you through that without ever the need of having to go through this nightmare, because it is not a fun task and it can be avoided using proper tools. So hopefully in your coding journey, your experience will be that you know about these things, but you will use great tools and work with great people so that you will never have to face debugging a cascading style sheet nightmare.
Got it. Yeah, that's good to hear.
Yes.
Yeah. And today I found some. I watched some Vim videos as well, and some more of that. And what's the name? The Primage or something, YouTuber. And he had some advanced movements that for some reason didn't work in the extension. So it feels like I'm using like a half working Vim. But so far it's good enough to practice with the basic workflow, and then I'm how does it say, I'm hopeful or positive that the muscle memory is of the basic stuff is enough to then add more some later or some of the advanced shortcuts or movements later on.
Yes.
when I'll be able to use Vim directly.
The more you will use them, the more your muscles will remember them. That's just how it is. So just give it some time and it'll take care of itself.
Yeah. My worry would be that I'm not using the proper shortcuts that Vim has, but the Vim extension in VS Code doesn't have, and thereby I'm kind of building some weird workarounds instead of using the proper shortcuts directly, but at least the basic ones are working. So at least I'm training them properly.
Exactly. And also there are a ton of people who love Vim, but they just get used to the Vim extension in VS Code and they still get like 95% of the benefits of Vim and are just used to the other stuff of VS Code. And there are also trade-offs between VS Code and Vim in terms of the variety of extensions, right? So it's not like you only lose stuff. There's also some stuff that you gain by using VS Code over Vim.
Yes. Yeah, I'm
awesome.
Looking forward to even what I was going to say is, even though I appreciate VS Code a lot, I'm looking forward to set up Vim fully at some point in the future.
Awesome. So if anyone is watching this someday or today or whenever, and you also want to become a coder, just jump into it. Leon has started literally 5 days ago. He's already thinking about stuff like specificity, which is real programmer stuff that is needed in the real world on a daily basis in some form. And as you can see, it's easy. Anyone can learn this. It only seems strange if you haven't looked at it, but as soon as you look at it, you'll start to understand these things. And as you understand these things, you will become a better coder and you will become more confident in your own skills to use them to build something great that other people can use because you thought of it and you made it real. So just jump into it. Coding is a great skill, and I hope that Leon's journey inspires you to maybe give it a try too and get better at it no matter where you are. If you're a mid-level developer, you're a senior developer, or if you've never coded before, just give it a try. And if you're already coding, try and find something new, try and get a little bit better today because your results will compound and you can become a 10x developer. So thank you for tuning in. This was day 5 of Code Call with Leon Anderson.
And 10x dev.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.